You're listening to Entertain You. This is a radio program brought to you by the Sarasota County Film Commission in partnership with the Radio Ear Network and with Society Bites Radio. And we're just so glad to have you out there listening. It's my pleasure as your host, Jeannie Corcoran. I'm the Film Commissioner for Sarasota County, to interview amazing people who've done amazing things in show business. And they include writers and directors and producers and actors. They include financing people and distribution people, streaming, television, you name it. We love to have them here and talk to them because we know their knowledge is so much more vast than mine. I learn something every day I do this. And today I'm very happy to have an old friend. And she's young and youthful, but she's been a friend for a long time. And her name is Nancy Oliver. Nancy, thanks for being with us.
My pleasure.
As Nancy is many, many things. She's come back to Sarasota. We're so glad to have her. Are you visiting? Are you staying?
No, I'm here for good.
Yay, yay. Well, yeah. Boo for Hollywood. They've lost your wonderful creative talents to us back here in Sarasota County. So.
Yeah, well, I spent 23 years out there, so I think...
About time.
I think they're probably ready for me to go, and I was ready to go.
No, well, it's good to have you back. And you've visited over the years.
I have.
You popped in and out, so.
Yeah, if I didn't have a foot in Sarasota, I don't know what I would have done.
Right. Well, the mythology is that once you have the sugar sand from Siesta Key Beach in your shoes or on your feet, you always come back. And it certainly happened.
I believe it.
Yeah, we were gone 15 years to the West Coast, and it was great. It was a prosperous time and had good opportunities. Our kids ended up going to great schools and both went into show business. But it was so great to get back to Sarasota. So
absolutely.
And couldn't be at a better time. It's a little calmer here than it is in some of the big metropolitan areas. And, well, let's talk about you. Let's talk about some of the great stuff you've done. I'm a fan.
Thank you.
We'll start current, and then we'll work backwards. Now,
sure.
Recently, you were the producer as well as a writer on a miniseries, Angeline?
Actually, that was a project that was in development, and I left over the summer, so I only stayed with it for a little while.
Is it still out there puddling around, waiting to find its way?
Yes, I think they're shooting. Well, they were shooting up until the last week or so, I think.
Yeah.
And it should be out on UCP streaming, Universal Content Productions,
Great.
a new streaming service that will launch in 2020.
Mm-hmm. Do you think you'll go back to it if it's a hit? Do you think you'd revisit it for producing, writing some more?
No, I'm done with it for now, yeah.
Okay, well, that's good, because now you're footloose and fancy-free to do other things.
Exactly.
And right before that, you were busily working out in Los Angeles. You've been writing and producing for years. You were nominated for an Academy Award for Lars and the Real Girl.
Yeah, that was a miracle. That was a little Hollywood miracle. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I was very lucky.
Didn't Lars and the Real Girl have a long journey to get there?
It did. You know, I wrote it as a sort of. I was giving up on my career at that point, and I wrote it just for fun. It was something that had been on my mind for like 5 years, and so I thought I'd set myself the task of. I gave myself 6 months to write it. Then I got stuck in the middle, so it took 3 more months than I expected, and then sent it out. By the time I finished it, I had an agent, and we sent it out, and then it just sat on people's desks for about 3 years.
But it was beloved. People loved it.
By the end of those 3 years,
right.
It was time. I mean, that's what's interesting about film is for a film to go, it's a convergence of a lot of different elements and has to do with timing and many things that are completely out of your control and the zeitgeist and all that. Mm-hmm. So I got lucky.
Right. I think you told me one time we talked about it, and you said it was so well liked. It was probably the most popular unproduced screenplay roaming around Los Angeles for a while.
Everyone liked
that
list.
Yes.
Yeah, it was on that list. Everybody loved it. Nobody wanted to shoot it. So,
but it finally did get made.
And
it went as an indie, or you didn't do it under a studio, did you?
No. At that time, it was 2006, I think, when it got shot. It was with a company called Film 44, and I was working with producers who had worked with the Coen brothers, and they were very smart people, and they got the script right away, and It was extreme good fortune.
Right. Well, it certainly did well, and I think it would have won. I mean, I was a big fan. It went up against Juno, didn't it? Wasn't that the year it went up against the indie film Juno?
Yes, which
I didn't think was nearly as good as yours. But.
Oh, thank you. I think it was fine. The Oscars are about so much more than the movies, and I think that Juno was made by an independent film division of Fox, I think. So there was a gigantic studio behind it, and she's a great celebrity, Diablo Cody.
Sure. And she's the daughter of some powerful people, and she was well connected, and she wrote a good screenplay.
I didn't even know that, but yeah.
So
Well, very nice person when we ran into each other, so no, I'm happy for her.
Right.
I'm happy a woman won.
That's right. Well, and I thought it was great that you were nominated and got to go to the Oscars.
That, as I say, that was a miracle. So that was. I have no complaints whatsoever.
And you've had a lot of award-winning work. I mean, 6 Feet Under.
Yes, I was on the last 3 seasons of 6 Feet Under.
Yeah.
Another stroke of good fortune, and that was my first job, actually, in television in Hollywood. So.
And it was how many Emmy nominations? I don't know how many it won, but it was always nominated.
I can't tell. There was great cinematography. There was great at every level. There was somebody great working. So,
and it was really unique. What a concept!
It was this really elevated soap opera that so it hit you. It got you with. The soap opera thing,
right,
which everybody loves, but the level of cinematography and writing and direction just elevated the whole thing.
Right. And it had a dark humor to it.
Oh, absolutely.
It wasn't like deadly serious. I mean, it was dealing with deadly serious topics, but it had that soap opera mentality of we can throw a lot of things at it from sideways.
Yes, and absurd too. It appreciated the ridiculousness of life and how absurd things get. I mean, I think my first episode was about a paintball war. So, covered a lot of ground and was 5 years of pretty good television.
Yeah, and very successful. Now, does it go into syndication? Is it still playing somewhere out there in the big wide world?
It is. I'm not sure that the syndication model still exists. I mean, it used to be, I think, and that was even before my time, that you hit 100 episodes and then it would
stay alive pretty much forever.
Yeah, but the model is different now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's available to watch on several streaming networks, I think.
And I'm hoping and I'm assuming that you, like so many people that wrote on winning TV series and winning projects, little residual checks come trickling your way.
Yeah, they run about $25 now, but I'm grateful for every penny.
That's right. It all adds up.
Yeah.
It all adds up. And it all keeps it alive, too.
Yes.
How about True Blood? What can you tell me about True Blood?
Oh, True Blood was really fun.
Yeah.
It was completely ridiculous.
Yes.
And great actors, extraordinary crew. The unsung heroes of everything, it's the crew. They were phenomenal. And, it was vampires, so we were shooting at night a lot, which is hard on people, and it's cold in Malibu Canyon, and people had to have not very many clothes on, and that was really a fun job. And we had no idea that it would take off the way that it did.
Right. And Anna Paquin, who had, as a child actress, won an Academy Award for the piano, I think it was.
Yes.
And she goes on to be this incredible cult superstar.
Yeah.
That, teen boys especially to this day would, swamp her for autographs if they got anywhere near her.
Yes, so. She was a very special actress. Really smart, really, she had to sit there and get like gallons of blood poured over her, and was, take after take. So I have massive respect for her. And everybody on that show, all the actors were nice, were kind, good to work with.
That's a wonderful memory to have, especially on a long-term show that stayed on the air for years. And, to come away with a great bunch of memories of a good crew, and good actors, a good show, a great time.
And there were things, nice little touches, like you'd be walking around or going to craft services, and the special effects guys were like blowing things out of a cannon in the parking lot, and it was like cottage cheese and watermelon because it made better brains or something like that. I mean, it was just really fun at every at every step of the way. It was fun.
Cottage cheese and watermelon. I hope that all the Ringling students that do all the student short films are listening to that. That sounds like a really good combination, and with some red food coloring. And,
Right? Yeah, they were very creative.
I remember years and years ago there was a live play in Sarasota called "When You Coming Back, Red Rider."
Oh yeah,
and they took place in a diner, and they would make scrambled eggs out of mashed bananas, and it looked like scrambled eggs.
Yeah.
But they would sit there and they would eat those mashed bananas every night. And I thought, it's amazing what you can fake with food.
I know. It's amazing what you can fake with anything at this point. And I'm most interested in what goes on backstage, so it was just hugely entertaining. Mm-hmm. A lot of work, but...
Oh, yeah. What's behind the scenes is tenfold, 20-fold about what they see on the screen, the finished product. The amount of effort that goes into it's unbelievable.
And we worked with, there were leopards, there were wolves, there were panthers, so you never knew, like, you'd have to get the big cat running toward camera, and I thought, well, there must be some, secret magical trainer thing that they do, but you tie a chicken leg to a piece of string and then just run it in front of that cat, and it goes wherever you want it to.
I have to remember that about
Yes.
I have a feral cat that I rescued, and she's still a kitten. And sometimes it's hard to get her attention, get her to come in or get her to stay in. Or
I highly recommend Chicken on a String.
Chicken on a String. There's a sitcom in there somewhere from a veterinarian's office titled Chicken on a String. How you wrangle all the cats and everything else out there in the world. So.
Yes.
So tell me about what has been, if you can say it, what has been your favorite thing to work on? And what has been your least favorite thing to work on over the years? Maybe things you've written that didn't go anywhere, or maybe things you've written and you loved, and or maybe you loved everything. Have you been a happy camper out there for 20-some years?
I think I just have felt so fortunate to be able to, there were so many years when I didn't make a living at it, that I was grateful for every piece of work that came my way that I connected with. So, I enjoy development. I find difficult, and writing for television is difficult on many levels, one of which is because it's writing by committee. Mm-hmm. You're working
writing
with
rooms.
A lot of people, and you're trying to please any number of executives and responding to any number of notes.
Are writers' rooms pretty competitive?
It depends on who's running the show and how they run their room. There are as many different ways to run a writer's room as there are showrunners. So ours, I worked with Alan Ball mostly, and he does a kind of free-for-all around the table. And so there's a lot of arguing, and I remember a lot with True Blood, we'd be, passionate about some, fake guts issue or something, and are just arguing furiously about it. And then you walk out of the studio into the parking lot and just think, what was my...
What was the point of all that?
About guts. Yeah. It was, So, a writer's room is a very intense place to work a lot of the time. A lot of laughs, a lot of fights.
Yeah, but all that creativity
Big
is
personalities.
just bubbling like a boiling cauldron in there.
Some days, most days, some days.
So, did you have any person who was like your very favorite? You mentioned Alan Ball. I think you and Alan go back a long time.
Yes, we go back to all the way to college,
right.
And he's always fun to work with. I love to work with friends. That's my favorite thing to do. You don't get to do it that much, but out there. But I love working with him.
I remember going way back. Let's go back to the Oslo Conservatory of Motion Picture, Television, and Recording Arts when it was in Sarasota. Didn't you and Alan attend that through FSU?
No, we were up in FSU in Tallahassee.
Ah.
And he was an undergrad actor, and I was a grad school actor and director. And so the film program hadn't started.
Oh, I thought you were part of the